Now we're going to be taking a look at some of the coolest containers you have ever seen. I'm joined by Eric Pedley from East Austin Succulents. Welcome to Central Texas Gardener. Welcome back, I should say.
Thank you for having me again.
I'm delighted to have you here because we are surrounded by probably the most unique collection and most beautiful collection of containers I've seen in a long, long time. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And we're going to be talking about creating really varied succulent gardens using some kind of unusual settings, if you will.
Whatever you can find, you can fill it.
You brought along a little coin drawer, and we're going to show people. And you use all sorts of things that you find in antique shops, and I guess that on curbside sometimes.
Exactly. I found this in an antique shop for real cheap, and it already had one drainage hole. I could drill another hole, but that's probably sufficient with how shallow it is. So it makes a neat planter, and we have one planted up over there that I'm sure you guys can show a picture of. But
and
that's
you
fun.
use a special, if you're going to drill into metal or something that's like a glazed ceramic or glass, you need a special drill bit, right?
Yeah, a diamond drill bit can pretty much drill through anything. If you're going through a big hunk of metal, you want to use a metal bit, but this is great for glass, even wood you can drill through. We use it for everything, and they are expensive, about $15, but this can make a lot of items that you have laying around great planters. It's a great tool to have.
All right. Well, speaking of great planters and tools, we have this wonderful old toolbox.
Yes.
And beautifully displaying the plants and also some cool rocks and things.
Yes. And one of the problems with wood is it cracks over time when you water it. So you need to have inserts. And I found this planter that has 4 sections, and they each have a plastic insert, so it's perfect. We have a little bit of slag glass in there and just some different rocks to accent it. And if you find a large piece of slag glass, you can just throw it in a towel and hammer it to smaller pieces that are more usable. And the same goes for petrified wood. If you have a real large piece, you can always just use a hammer and break it down.
I want you to show the other side of that, because
there's some
color
cool features there.
Really something else.
This is 4 million year old Indonesian petrified wood, and it's
and it's available commercially.
Exactly. It should be priceless, you would think. But
I would think so,
old,
right?
Yeah. It is available.
Well, and makes a perfect accent for, or kind of counterpoint to a lot of the plantings that you have here.
It can really make an arrangement. One cool rock or piece of moss or wood can really make an arrangement.
Or a beer can.
Sure, yeah.
And speaking of which, right here next to me, this is a very Austin piece, I would think.
Yes, Casey has gotten really obsessed with making these with his Dremel and with the router, little woodworking, and he bolts them in, and it's a neat Austin thing to do, I guess.
So how often would you water these guys?
Well, that's a really small opening there. I would water those twice a week. Unless you're in a shady area, then you can water less.
Well, we have all sorts of things here, from old coffee cans to vintage-looking horses and glazed ceramics. But there are lots of different themes, I think, you've got here.
Sure. You can go really lush and fill out a pot, and it's a good propagator that you can make cuttings off. And or you can go really stark and kind of desolate and desert-like, and modern with a lot of open space or just one rock and one plant. You can keep it kind of mystical.
Zen.
Yes, zen.
Zen in a coffee can. Well, I think that would work. That aesthetic is something that I really like, but I also like the funky retro look that a lot of your pieces seem to have.
Yeah, that's a shabby chic with the shiny rocks and the weird round arrangement there, and it's got roadkill in it with some reindeer moss to kind of brighten it up.
Right. Well, that Apuntia and that beautiful retro-looking vase is really cool. We have a variety of tool kits that you've brought, and the one that is just kind of blowing me away, and I wanted you to describe this for our viewers, because, I mean, it's planted all the way up into the lid here.
Sure. I always look for a lid that will hold itself open and not fall back all the way. And they usually have an insert in there that you can drill as well that makes a great planter. So you can fit a lot of neat things and get creative with some woods and mosses and rocks as well. And
A lot of these plants will do in the shade, won't they?
yes, they will. And you know, it's not ideal that the Manfreda is in there because a Manfreda will color up a lot more red in some sun.
Right.
But it'll still live well. You just won't get the nice color. But yeah, we do have a lot of shade plants in this arrangement.
Well, this one shows off both lush and stark all in one container,
Sure,
really.
yeah.
And it uses the
Multi-level.
stones, and it's an art form unto itself.
Yeah,
really.
that's Morgan's style. She loves to use a lot of woods and mosses. It's
And
nice.
you know, people see these things and they think, "Gosh, that looks so complicated. It must be really difficult to take care of."
You're just drilling them, throwing dirt in, throw the plants in, and then throw some top dress, and you can get as creative and get complex if you want to. But
Yeah.
it's a good thing to do, to replant your plants and get creative, have something to do. You know.
Yeah. Well, you say throw some dirt in, but
Yeah.
I know you don't throw just any dirt in there.
Yeah.
And then actually, you know, adding the correct soil is really probably one of the key things here, right?
Yes, yeah. We make a mix that's really fast draining, but it's really nutritious as well. You know, we use a lot of cypress mulch and granite and perlite to make things drain really quickly. One of the main problems that people have when they say, "Oh, I kill succulents," is that they buy this nursery pot that's just a block of peat.
Yeah.
And when you're watering it, it's never saturating the roots. It's just going down the sides. When you repot into a good mix, you can saturate the roots and really get down there for the plant to grow well. So repotting is the #1 thing when you buy a plant from a nursery. And making arrangements is a good way to, you know, do a fun thing and also help the plants out.
Yeah. And when you repot them, do you break up the root ball
Sure,
a little bit
yeah.
to break that peat?
If it's root bound or if it's a block of peat, then break it up. If it's a fragile plant that really doesn't have very many roots, don't mess with the roots.
Exactly.
You don't need to, yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Well, again, the variety is just astonishing, from really small to very big.
Yeah.
And now you have that kind of barrel-like thing over there.
Yeah.
That's with an old gas.
I love that thing.
Yeah.
It's just a big old oil barrel or something like that. And we've thrown a big block of styrofoam in there. You don't have to waste that much dirt and make it a big heavy thing.
Right.
You can put a pot upside down, throw a log in there, big block of styrofoam to make, you know, make it lighter, and it will stay less wet for long periods if it's not all rich soil
Right.
getting mucky in there. So.
And you don't have to spend a fortune to do all this, folks. I mean, from cracker boxes to something that you have in your garage right now, old
Yeah.
cans that you've got tools in. If you want that cool retro look, you can do it.
You can.
All right. So, Eric, thank you so much for being here. Your East Austin Succulents is on Tillery Street. You're
Yes.
located with the Tillery Street Plant Company.
Yeah, 801 Tillery.
And I hope people will check you out down there.